UEFA and some greedy clubs have been trying to move football to America for a while. While the NBA is trying to expand into Europe, we as football are trying to go to America, and as a result, it doesn't seem too far-fetched for the Champions League final to be played within the borders of America. Today I will explain this news that came out 10 days ago in detail, and then share my own comments. Let's start while you hit the like button. The possibility of the Champions League final being played in the USA is now one step closer. Because UEFA and the European Club Association have entered into exclusive negotiations with relevant sports for the global commercial rights of European men's club competitions starting from 2027, this is an American company, and they want to bring major matches to America. If this agreement is finalized, UEFA's partnership with Team Marketing, with whom they have worked for over 30 years, will come to an end. Who is this company? You might say they are actually the ones who created the Star Ball and the famous Champions League music. They were the marketing agency. Therefore, if the agreement between UEFA and Team Marketing suddenly ends, it could mean that around 170 employees from the company might leave this. Therefore, according to the Athletics report, it is said that the Team Marketing side is in a state of great shock and anger.
A statement from UEFA regarding this issue was expected.
That's actually why I delayed the video a bit. The statement was expected to be as follows. The UC3 board, a joint initiative of UEFA and the European Club Association, has decided to enter into exclusive negotiations with relevant sports regarding the global commercial rights of UEFA men's club competitions for the 2027-33 period. This decision was made following an open tender process initiated last summer, in which many global and regional agencies submitted bids. A statement was expected. However, as far as I can see, there is no statement about this yet. In fact, it was expected on the Tuesday, when I recorded this video. It will be published on Wednesday now. Ray Levon has previously been involved in efforts to bring European club matches to America. He is controlled by Stephen Ross, who is also the owner of the Miami Dolphins. In fact, as you know, there was a tournament held especially before the pandemic, which was organized a lot during the preseason. It was called the International Champions Cup. Here, many major clubs played preparatory matches against each other in America. In fact, it was also played on other continents. They also tried to turn this into a preseason tournament branded with the Champions League. However, the attempt to do this was not very beneficial. In fact, as a rival to this, the Premier League, as you know, this summer, they played some matches in America and pitted some Premier League teams against each other as preseason matches. Of course, the reason for taking the event to America is to attract the audience there, to bring European football a bit more, and also to earn money directly from there. Because in America, even the price of a ticket almost doubles. Compared to Europe, FIFA had stated last April that it would not change its policy preventing league matches from being played in other countries. This statement came after an agreement was reached to withdraw the lawsuit filed by Relevant against this regulation. Relevant sports lawyer Jeffrey Alkesler stated in a letter submitted to a Manhattan court that an agreement had been reached between FIFA and his client to dismiss the case. As you know, it was previously planned for a La Liga match between Barcelona and Girona to be played in Miami. Again, this year there were such reports in La Liga. However, the federation had quite opposed it. After all, as you know, while La Liga and the clubs there are making some plans to maximize revenue, the federation says this is our property, Spain is our property, it's about Spain. Therefore, they say you cannot take it outside of Spain, and FIFA currently has a rule in this direction. However, you can probably guess that this might become more flexible over time. I mean, even FIFA eventually established an organization like the Club World Cup. Relevant, it is now said to be close to an agreement with UEFA. This could pave the way for Champions League matches to be played in the USA by 2033. It might even lead to the Champions League final being held in the United States. There was already a Final Four plan that I mentioned on my main channel before. I think if it turns to an American company, they would change the Champions League format. They would add a Final Four. They would play all the matches in one place within a week. I think there could be quite a few changes. Of course, the American side will try to push the boundaries here. At the same time, perhaps some investors from the Gulf will make more inroads into the European market. However, where the clubs will stand is going to be a question mark. I think the clubs will, of course, want the maximum money at this point, but ultimately, what the consumer, that is the fan, will say is very important. The dynamics and culture of sports are gradually changing. The new generation of content consumers, that is the fans, it is becoming more difficult to attract them on the one hand. That's why they are trying to experiment with different things. Now, this is not limited to just football. With vertical formats like TikTok, people are trying to watch things, and doing aggressive things suitable for these has been talked about in football for quite some time, are being discussed. There are also absurd experiments and ideas like limiting time, stopping the clock, removing offside, and so on. Especially with American capital getting involved, I'm honestly concerned that things might change quite a bit. Again here, against UEFA, the European Super League has achieved a success against UEFA and FIFA, to be more precise. As you know, there is a court decision. UEFA and FIFA can no longer be considered a monopoly. Therefore, even I want to go out and establish the European Super League right now. If I say so, I can establish it. FIFA cannot impose any sanctions against this. They just need to find investors and convince the clubs in a way that they can actually provide the money they promised there. And they need to distance the clubs from the Champions League culture. If this goes towards an organization with America, then the Champions League will already be part of the European Super League. I think the club's mindset will change a bit. Their minds will be swayed there. But if America gets involved in this way, I think the Arabian Peninsula will not be far behind. So having a final played in America could mean that the next year you might have that final played in Saudi Arabia. In the end, the 2034 World Cup will be in Saudi Arabia. They're making incredibly large investments, and Saudi Arabia is also a country I don't think they will be left behind, especially since there will be a Champions League final outside the continent. In fact, they might say something like that. So they might say, from the quarterfinals onwards, just come to us directly, because they really changed the format of the Asian Champions League this year. Now, there are two conferences. They're competing in a league format over there. They have returned to a league system like the normal one in Europe in two separate conferences. After that, if I remember correctly, after a certain level, or if I'm mistaken, please correct me, it should be the quarterfinals. For example, after the quarterfinals, all the teams come to Saudi Arabia and the matches are played there. So I don't think such a possibility is far-fetched at all. Right now, we're trying to understand the new format little by little. In fact, just a few days ago, I shared my thoughts on what I've understood so far about the new format. In the Middle Valley Champions League, we might see very significant changes regionally in terms of positioning. I think FIFA was the organization that started this, because they're even planning to spread the World Cup to other continents. We're going to advertise saying something like football and all that. They also included the 2030 World Cup. Both Africa, Fast Portugal, and Spain were done in a way that doesn't normally comply with FIFA's rules. Because there are countries from two different continents, and on top of that, they added a third continent, which again won't comply with FIFA's rules. They put one match in a third continent, in Paraguay, Argentina, and Uruguay. So football, of course, seems like it's going to go to very different places as long as there's money involved. I'm not too pessimistic about playing one or two matches in a different location. It's really important to evaluate whether this will affect the player's health very thoroughly. You can't just suddenly go to America to play a match in the middle of a normal season and then come back. If you make a plan, the increase in injuries due to those flights and so on becomes quite possible. And of course, it's important to arrange the teams that will play at home and those that will go away properly. So the possibility of the final is already the most talked about thing here. I don't know how putting the final together would work. On the other hand, it's also necessary to ensure that the fans in Europe can go there. But if the money they will get there is obviously much more. When Saudi Arabia was trying to acquire the Turkish Cup and the Super Cup, I actually evaluated this in detail on the main channel. In the end, I think they'll also look at the money a bit. What do you think? Do you think America will get involved in this? Can they pull the Premier League, the Champions League, La Liga, and so on? Should they pull it off? How much money would you leave the Champions League final for? I'm waiting for your comments below, friends. Don't forget to subscribe. See you later.